got any brains over there, I could use those too. Got an extra brain over there, I could use that too.
No, I don't have any brains, sorry.
Extra.
I don't have enough myself.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, entitled Status Quo, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. And we're on text 4 or 5. We have a verse on the board, or what about what about need some chanters in the verse? Do we have another book in there, or is this it? Punar Vichitra Srijatim.
We're still pulling it up.
Sarupa Prakatim Prajaha
Sarupa Prakatim Prajaha.
Vilokya Mumahe Sadya
Vilokaguna He Sadya.
Saiha Gyanaguhaya 326.5, right? Punar Vichitra Srijatim
Something Srijatim.
Sarupa Prakatim Prajaha
Sarupa Prakatim Prajaha.
Vilokya Mumahe Sadya
Vilokya Mumahe Sadya.
Saiha Gyanaguhaya Punar Vichitra Srijatim Sarupa Prakatim Prajaha Vilokya Mumahe Sadya Saiha Gyanaguhaya. Please chant.
Swarupa Prakatim Prajaha. Vilokya Mumahe Sadya. Saiha Gyanaguhaya. Gunar Vichitra Srijatim. Sarupa Prakritim Prajaha. Vilokya Mumahe Sadya. Saiha Gyanaguhaya.
Gunar Vichitra Srijatim.
Gunar Vichitra Srijatim.
Sarupa Prakritim Prajaha.
Sarupa Prakritim Prajaha.
Vilokya Mumahe Sadya.
Vilokya Mumahe Sadya.
Saiha Gyanaguhaya.
Saiha Gyanaguhaya.
Would you like to chant that Sanskrit verse? Yeah, Gunar, the whole thing, Gunar. First you first do the first line and then everybody repeats like that. Gunar Vichitra Srijatim Sarupa Pakatim Praja Vilokya Mumahe Sadya Saiha Ganagurya. Word by word translation. Gunahi. By the threefold modes. Vichitraha. Variegated. Sajatim. Creating. Sarupaha. With forms. Prakritim. Material nature. Prajaha. Living entities. Vilokya, having men. Mumahe was illusioned. Sadhyaha, at once. Saha, the living entity. Iha, in this world. Jnana guhaya, by the knowledge covering feature. Divided into varieties by her threefold modes, material nature creates the forms of the living entities. And the living entities, seeing this, are illusioned by the knowledge-covering feature of the illusory energy. Purport. Material energy has the power to cover knowledge, but this covering cannot be applied to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is applicable only to the prajaha, or those who are born with material bodies, the conditioned souls. The different kinds of living entities vary according to the modes of material nature, as explained in Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literature. In Bhagavad Gita 7.12, it is very nicely explained that although the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are born of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is not subject to them. In other words, the energy emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot act on Him. It acts on the conditioned souls, who are covered by the material energy. The Lord is the Father of the living entities because He impregnates material energy with the conditioned souls. Therefore, the conditioned souls get bodies and conditioned souls get bodies created by the material energy, whereas the Father of living entities is aloof from the three modes. It is stated in the previous verse that the material energy was accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order that He might exhibit pastimes for the living entities who wanted to enjoy and lord it over the material energy. This world was created through the material energy of the Lord for the so-called enjoyment of such living entities. Why this material world was created for the sufferings of the conditioned souls is a very intricate question. There is a hint in the previous verse in the word lilaya, which means for the pastimes of the Lord. The Lord wants to rectify the enjoying temperament of the conditioned souls. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that no one is the enjoyer but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This material energy is created, therefore, for anyone who pretends to enjoy. An example can be cited here that there is no necessity for the government's creation of a separate police department. But because it is a fact that some of the citizens will not accept the state laws, a department to deal with criminals is necessary. There is no necessity, but at the same time there is a necessity. Similarly, there was no necessity to create this material world for the sufferings of the conditioned souls, but at the same time there are certain living entities known as Nitya Buddha who are eternally conditioned. We say that they have been conditioned from time immemorial because no one can trace out when the living entity, the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, became rebellious against the supremacy of the Lord. It is a fact that there are two classes of men, those who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Lord and those who are atheists or agnostics, who do not accept the existence of God and who want to create their own laws. They want to establish that everyone can create his own laws or his own religious path. Without tracing out the beginning of the existence of these two classes, we can take it for granted that some of the living entities revolted against the laws of the Lord. Such entities are called conditioned souls, for they are conditioned by the three modes of material nature. Therefore, the words Gunar Vichitraha are used here. In this material world, there are 8,400,000 thousand species of life. As spirit souls, they're all transcendental to this material world. Why then do they exhibit themselves in different stages of life? The answer is given here. They are under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because they were created by the material energy, their bodies are made of the material elements. Covered by the material body, the spiritual identity is lost. And therefore the word muhe is used here, indicating that they have forgotten their own spiritual identity. This forgetfulness of spiritual identity is present in the jivas, or souls who are conditioned, being subject to be covered by the energy of the material nature. Jnana guhaya is another word used. Guha means covering. Because the knowledge of the minute conditioned souls is covered, they are exhibited in so many species of life. It is said in the Srimadbhagavatam, 7th chapter, 1st canto. This is what it says. The living entities are illusioned by the material energy. In the Vedas also it is stated that the eternal living entities are covered by different modes and that they are called tree-colored. Remember the colors? For those who aren't reading the book. Huh? Yeah. What are the other two colors though? Yeah. Right, America, you know. Red, white, and blue, right? The three modes, fully present. Red is the representation of the mode of passion. White is the representation of the mode of goodness, and blue is the representation of the mode of ignorance. These modes of material nature belong to this material energy. And therefore the living entities under these different modes of material nature have different kinds of material bodies. Because they are forgetful of their spiritual identities, they think the material bodies to be themselves. To the conditioned soul, me means the material body. This is called moha, or bewilderment. It is repeatedly said in the Katha Upanishad that the Supreme Personality of God is never affected by the influence of material nature. It is rather the conditioned souls, or the minute infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme, who are affected by the influence of material nature and who appear in different bodies under the material modes. Om Mekanitamarandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Jagashavan Vitamina Tasva Shekadvaya Namaha Kam Kativachalam Pangam Vangai Tekni Kivadamaham Vande Shekadunditaranam Vancha Kapatribhisha Kipasandibhavacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radhikadata Shivasari Guru Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So read it one more time. Divided into varieties by her threefold modes, material nature creates the forms of the living entities. And the living entities, seeing this, are illusioned by the knowledge-covering feature of the illusory energy. So how many times have you been to the lounge? Twice. Last night and then the week before, right? Okay. And what about you? You haven't counted, huh? 6 times? No, you've been longer than that. I guess it could be calculated because you've been here for about a year, and then if you went to all the lounges, then I went quite a lot. A long time, since the beginning. I don't know how many times it was. So yeah, this is an interesting verse and purport. Of course, every verse and purport of the Srimad Bhagavatam is interesting, but this explaining that this idea of illusion or being bewildered. So in other words, people we make mistakes. In other words, people make mistakes, and that's called falling under illusion. And from that illusion, mistakes are made. So the mistake of the identity, people have identity crisis, right? They don't know who they are. They they try to search for their identity. Okay, am I a I don't know, am I a surfer? Or and they try to find their identity in that, and then they're not satisfied, or whatever. They'll go to the raves. Am I a raver? And they try to find their identity there. They wear all the bracelets and the, earrings, and they go and dance, and maybe take some things to help them dance, drugs or something. Right? They try to find their identity, or people, skateboarders, like skateboarders. They try to find their identity. They try to learn how to skateboard and do all the different types of tricks, and if they're successful, maybe they feel, okay, I'm a skateboarder. I could do a whatever. I could do a kick flip. I could do a 360. I could those tricks. No. Or if the raver thinks, oh, I could. They successfully dance, right? And they're okay, yeah, this is me. So they're searching for this identity, but sometimes people, they search, and still they don't find satisfaction. They don't find happiness. They find some, but it's not substantial. It's not good enough, right? And we have that experience. I have that experience. I also went through, you could say, different stages, hopefully, of evolution, and not what was this other word? Devolution? Devolution. Hopefully I'm going through evolution stage in consciousness, but different stages in which I identified, okay, this is me, whatever, I'm a skateboarder, I'm a this, I'm a that, and I went through all these different stages. But in all the stages I went through in trying to find myself, my identity, there was some satisfaction there, but it wasn't good enough. It wasn't substantial. So a human being, if they're fortunate, they want to experience their full potential, right? People who are unfortunate, they say, okay, well, I search a few identities, and I kind of made it here, I made it there. I made it in this world to some degree, and I find some satisfaction. I'm not fully satisfied. I'm not fully happy, and some people do say that. I would say that they don't know what they're talking about, but because I doubt that they're fully happy. But some people admit it. Yeah, okay, I'm not fully happy, but I work and I pay the bills. And I take care of my family, and I just bought a house, and there's some satisfaction there, but I'm not fully satisfied. But the point is, they settle for that. Okay, that's just how life is. But that's called unfortunate, being unfortunate. But the fortunate person, they, upon looking for themselves, searching for their real selves, if they haven't found themselves yet completely, then they'll admit, hey, I'm not fully happy. And this is not good enough. This is not good enough. That's to be fortunate. To have that understanding. And if that fortunate person comes in contact with a process that will help or assist them in realizing their true potential, realizing themselves, then they become even more fortunate, because not only are they in that situation of being a seeker or looking for themselves or whatever, but they have come in contact with a process in which that process could facilitate them in that endeavor. And that's called extremely fortunate. Extremely fortunate. And then if someone could actually do that, that's even more fortunate. So you got more fortunate, what is it? What would Prabhu say about perfect, more perfect, most perfect? Anyways. So yeah, that's the idea. So we search, but then there is ways to to actually realize ourselves. And most people, as is stated here in the purport, the conditioned soul, or the soul under the spell of illusion, they say me, right? They say me. Means the material body. That's what me means. And of course, in our youth, that's you could say it could be acceptable. Okay, not so bad, What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the body? But generally speaking, over time, through the aging process, it's not fun anymore to have this concept that me is the material body. It's not fun anymore. Just ask anybody who's old. They'll say it's not fun anymore. So yes, we have a material body, and there's nothing wrong with the material body. It's a creation from Krishna, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is meant to help us in reaching the goal of life. So there's nothing wrong with the body, and therefore we take care of it, and this and that. But this idea to think we're the body, this creates a lot of issues and problems, and just like, for example, these famous movie stars, or whoever they are, whoever they think they are. There's been, at least I've heard that there's been cases of, I'm sure men too, but in these particular cases I've heard women that, they're very physically attractive, and they get people's attention and this and that, but what happens is they age, the aging process goes on, and then they start becoming old, their bodies, right? Gray hair comes, wrinkles, right? Whatever it is, just the beauty disappears, the physical beauty disappears. And no longer are they recognized. They're not recognized by the media. They don't got the guys going around with the cameras, whatever they call it, the paparazzis, taking pictures, when they're walking down the street to eat lunch or whatever important thing they're doing. Not so important thing they're doing. And they're not recognized on the street when they're walking on the street from ordinary people. They're just, okay, maybe they're recognized, maybe not. But even if they are recognized, no one's interested anymore. They're interested in someone else who's young and attractive physically. And from this, these poor women have experienced so much turmoil within their consciousness, so much depression, so much anxiety, frustration, just complete, just horrible states of consciousness, which they're depressed. They're completely depressed. And they would just lock themselves in their houses, the big mansions, and just, not come out because they're not recognized. Or they have to go to their... Anyways. So it's a mistake they made, thinking themselves, me, this is the material body. But if they had a realization, okay, I have a material body, but I'm not the body, and so what? The body's getting old, so what? That doesn't really change me, it changes my body. Then they would be a lot better off. They'd be a lot more happy. Even there's so many cases. It happens, it's probably happening today in America and throughout the world, where young men and young women, teenagers, for God's sake, it's like, even the idea of teenagers thinking of committing suicide is weird and just crazy. How they could actually think that, but even today, today all over the world, young women, young men, I'm sure there's so many of them committing suicide. I don't want to get too morbid or something, but and a lot of them are doing that because they feel that they have not made the mark. They can't reach the so-called level of human perfection, right? The so-called perfection of material beauty or being a certain weight. I mean, you know, and therefore they do stuff like that. So, and on and on and on and on. There's a whole list of issues that come up with the idea of people not understanding that they have a spiritual side to them. There's a whole list of ideas, problems. And so this is very important knowledge that, yes, okay, we are soul, we're not the body. But from the Bhagavatam's perspective, there is a particular energy of Krishna's, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That energy, it covers the knowledge of people. It covers their knowledge. It covers their memory, it covers their knowledge. It's like, yeah. And why is that? Why do you think it covers the knowledge? Anyone would like to say? Yes. They want their knowledge. Why would you want your knowledge to be covered? You want to enjoy it? But why do you have to have your knowledge covered to enjoy? What's wrong with the constitutional position? You can't be the enjoyer? What do you think, Ryan?
Well, for those that want to forget about God and try to live independently from God, do their own thing, and they have to forget that God exists.
Oh.
Therefore, there's illusion.
There's illusion. So it's created by Krishna, by God, with the idea that it's facilitating people's desires to forget. That's the idea. Okay. And why would they want to forget Krishna?
They have free will. They can the souls can either choose to associate with the Supreme Being or choose to go off and do their own thing. They're given free will eternally.
It's like the rebellion, so they're rebellious.
Yeah, that's kind of the Christian idea, kind of rebellious against God.
Somewhat of a Christianite. All right, makes sense. So yeah, they're rebellious and they don't want to think about Krishna, right? The conditioned souls. So there's a certain energy that covers them, called Maya. So I guess within the Christian tradition, I heard yesterday that they call Satan. They call him. You know what they call him? The father of. Anyone recognize it? No? The father. He's the father of something. Any guesses? What he could be the father of?
Lots of things.
Like what? Dark?
Self, rebelliousness, darkness, sin.
Sin? Any ideas? Huh? Yeah, I heard yesterday, which I thought was actually quite interesting. Therefore, I'm saying it now. If I didn't think it was interesting, I wouldn't say it. But there's a saying, he's the father of lies. He's the father of lies. So yeah, the idea is that from that, he goes around and he lies to people. Okay, hey, do this and believe this and and you'll be happy. Just like these. Just like the whatever, the politicians or the people who put up the billboard. Oh yeah, buy this, buy that. Oh yeah, you'll be happy. But a lot of the times they don't really believe that. They just kind of want your money. They want you to take your purse out or your wallet or whatever you got and give them the money. So you could say that, yeah, that's the nature of demoniac consciousness. That they want to exploit. They want to get something out of us and lie to us, right? Maybe for just some purely evil purpose, just to see us suffer, or to get our money, get something from us. So I was thinking, of course, Maya is Krishna's energy. Maya is Krishna's servant, but she is it is the material energy, and it is the covering feature of Krishna that he covers the knowledge. So we could also say, yeah, that Maya is the mother of lies. That through the bewildering energy and, you know, and through her agents, you could say, her pure devotees, Maya also has pure devotees, very convinced, that they influence us in wrong ways to think certain things, to believe certain things, which ultimately aren't really uplifting for us, like that. So anyways, I was thinking about that, the father of lies and mother of lies. So yes, Krishna, he doesn't fall under these modes. He doesn't fall under these different states of material consciousness, but we do. So the idea is that, the simple idea is that the particular state we're in now is not, like I was saying, good enough. It's not good enough. So that is the first, you could say, step, and one of the first, I mean there's so many first steps, but that could be said to be, in one sense, the first step in self-realization is understanding and admitting and realizing the state I am in now is not good enough. Although it's very simple state, a lot of people don't actually get to that. Or they may get to that, but then they go about it in all types of wrong ways, how to better their lives. So to realize that, okay, I'm not good. It's not good enough, my state. And then secondly is to come in contact with the spiritual process in which we could become more evolved spiritually. And then to actually do it, because you come in contact and then not. Right? So to actually engage in it. So the simple thing is that, the simple point is that, yes, there is eternality, there is happiness, there is true, unending bliss, there is endless knowledge and love and all these types of things. And to get to that, we engage in the spiritual process, and gradually we evolve, and then we will reach the stage. But even when we reach the stage, it's actually unlimited. It's an unlimited advancement, which is quite interesting, actually. And all of this, at least from the Bhagavatam's perspective, it all rests on us performing a very simple method that is prescribed for this particular age of strife and quarrel and disagreement and all these weird things that are happening in the world. This particular age we're in right now of Kali, which means quarrel and hypocrisy. And simple meditation process is chanting Hare Krishna. So we have the beads, Hare Krishna, and we got the chanting. And that will become evolved spiritually through that process. At least this is what the Bhagavatam, this book, is saying. So which I obviously accept and I have faith in. So does anyone have any questions? Or yes, Zach.
Related, different topic, but so our spiritual form, I was thinking this last night and kind of came to a conclusion. Not fully.
Spiritual form. You could have spiritual form?
Yeah.
You just don't become like a...
So our
Are you sure about that? You have faith in that?
Yeah. So, our personal identity in the spiritual world, our true spiritual form, who we really are. So, is it fixed and determined, or do we determine what our form is in the spiritual world by what we practice in this life? Because I've heard this thing that if you're practicing bhakti or too attached to bhakti in this life, then when you get Vaikuntha
I'm just trying to think, because when you're saying all that, I was just thinking of different things I've heard in lectures and so on. Well, there's probably, just like within, on any topic really, in Krishna consciousness, there's two sides. Because people, right, like I said yesterday, I said that William Blake, quoting Mr. William Blake, said something, you read the Bible, I read the Bible, you read the Bible day, I read the Bible night, you read black and I read white. So in other words, different interpretations of the same thing. So like the fall of the jiva, some people say, oh, the fall of the soul, from that the soul was originally in the spiritual world, right? And then it fell to the material world. Now, some don't accept that. Some say that, oh, we were somewhere else and we came to the material world, or we were always here. So there's two sides of it. So I'm sure with this particular topic, there's also two sides. Just like, there's two sides to everything, practically every single topic you could think of, almost. Even prasadam, there's two sides. I like Western prasadam is just, food, like pizza is supremely wonderful, right? Some people say that, yeah, and that's all we should serve at the temples, just pizza, And some people say, okay, but that's okay, we could do sometimes, but I think rice and, lentil soup and, whatever, that's supreme, we should serve that at the lounge, that over the years it's been right? Everybody has their opinions. Of course you could go both ways, but... So yeah, in terms of entering the spiritual world and who we are in the spiritual world, and does that depend on us, doing particular things here? As far as I've heard and thought about and understood, is that it's not that we are meant to, for example, become gopis, right? Like cowherd girls, like Krishna's female devotees in the spiritual world. We're meant to become that, right? But, we kind of mess up things here a little bit, and we don't exactly, do everything. We fall short, and we just make it up to a particular position, like in Vaikuntha or something. Because the point is, everybody ends up where Krishna wants them to, eventually. And if Krishna wants us in a particular situation in the spiritual world, and that is where we're meant to be, then that's going to happen. Whatever you do in this life. I mean, of course, it may take many lives to reach that stage, but eventually you will be in the stage where Krishna wants you to be. Not that Krishna's thinking, oh man, I really wish he would have tried a little harder than he would have been in this particular situation. We could have had a relationship, and that now you're in a lower situation, or not in a lower, but in a different. But in terms of there's this idea of the seed, right? The seed of bhakti, or the seed of devotion planted within one's heart, right? And by watering it, it grows, and the fruit of love of Krishna, or love of God, is produced, right? In the spiritual world. So, but aside from that idea, but there's also a general idea of you have a seed, you plant a seed out in the garden, right? Now, whatever seed that may be, you'll see eventually. Let's say you don't know. You throw them and you don't know what it is, what seeds they are. But with the water, with the sunlight, with the proper care, it will produce a particular thing, like a sunflower or a tomato or something like that, right? But the way in which that develops is the same. The process is the same. Water and light and like that. So what I'm saying is that chanting of Hare Krishna, that nourishes all the different relationships in which we can enter into with Krishna. That chanting of Hare Krishna. So in other words, if we chant Hare Krishna, we will realize, okay, who I am in the spiritual world, like that. And it will nourish that, it will become very clear. In other words, right now it might be a seed, and we don't know what it is, right? Water, and then it grows into, we understand this is my spiritual identity. Just like Murari Gupta in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of course but Murari Gupta, he was a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Krishna, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he told him, oh, well, instead of worshipping, because he also worshipped Lord Ramchandra, which is an incarnation of Krishna. Krishna could incarnate in different times, in different forms, and like that, different activities. So Lord Ramchandra is a form of God which appeared in a particular time and had particular activities. And this Murari Gupta, he was attached to this form of Ram. He was not attached to Krishna. Which they're the same but different, you know. So Lord Chaitanya, what did he tell him, right? He said, you should stop worshipping Ram, right? You should stop worshipping Ram, you should worship Krishna. And then Murari Gupta went home and he tried to, stop worshipping Ram, worshipping Krishna. He just couldn't do it. He loved Ram so much. He went back the next day and he said, oh, well, Lord Chaitanya said, oh, you're a devotee of Ramchandra. You're Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord. In Ramchandra's time, there's Hanuman, and you're the same person, and you're a devotee of Ram. So the point is, but he was in Chaitanya Leela. He was in Chaitanya's pastimes, Chaitanya's life, Krishna, Chaitanya's life, 500 years ago in India. So the point was that, but he was chanting Hare Krishna. So what I'm saying is that chanting of Hare Krishna nourishes the different relationships in which devotees have. And by that, it will be revealed. Does that make sense, or you have some follow-up? Looks like you have some follow-up, or you're not fully, or you want me to say something more, or you're not fully. Okay. Well,
there's one question about, so in terms of our going back to spiritual, so it's not so much a question of free will, it's more Krishna's hand, placing a sense. It's not like, oh, I want to be under your shoulders.
assistant. Yeah, I mean, as far as I understand that the position is already, just like we already have love of Krishna, right? It says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Siddhikavano. It's eternally there. The love of Krishna is there. So, Hare Krishna. So, if it's there, then it doesn't have